All right. Yet another episode of Better Habits. And I'm super excited to get back to our regular episodes with more Coach Me certified habit coaches. And today we have another very special guest. We have Leo. Hi, Leo.
Hello. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
This is going to be a very special episode. I think we never had yet a coach who helping folks with bad habits. And I know you wanted the evil the evil emoji on our title that's going to go there. Tell us who you are, what you do in a couple of sentences.
Oh, hi, everybody. I am Coach Leo, and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a certified habit coach, helping men and women quit destructive habits. I like how you called it bad habits. It sounds like a Taylor Swift song. I should use that. And I'm a self-improvement junkie and a father of two beautiful children. Oh, correct me, Lydia. There's a third child in the oven right now. I keep forgetting. I feel like when it's
Oh,
in the belly, it's like I
congratulations.
forget about it. But I actually have three children, not just two. One's in the belly,
Right.
going to be ready in a couple months out the oven.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
How did you get into bad habits? What's your
Mm.
story? What made you become a coach who help folks to deal with bad habits? Now I cannot get rid of the bad habits on
Right?
in
It's
my
either Ed
head.
Sheeran or Taylor Swift. Like one of
There
them.
you
Well,
go.
this is a
There you
like a
go.
hit song. Origin story. This is so fun. I never get to talk about my origin story. I'm gonna milk this. I get all the attention. No. So I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life, and I struggled with a lot of the things that entrepreneurs struggle with when they're first starting out: uncertainty, low self esteem, broken confidence, because you're trying and experimenting and things are failing. And I was just in such a tough space. This is almost 20, 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. And I remember feeling so low on myself. I had quit my job to start this entrepreneurial journey, and I was just struggling mentally. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was struggling in my relationships. And it was such a painful time in my life. And I remember the one thing I did have going for me, Lydia, is constant self improvement has been this habit that has stuck with me. It's just in my DNA. I'm constantly learning and trying to improve. And I stumbled upon an author and a book. The author's name is Tim Ferriss, and his book is The 4 Hour Work Week. And that book changed my life 20 years ago. And I followed him and I studied his work, and I was always paying attention to him on Twitter. And this one day, he posted a challenge, and it was called the Knob Nom Challenge. That's the no booze and no masturbation challenge. And in that tweet, I should try to find it one of these days. In that tweet,
Yeah.
he said, if you do this for 30 days, it's a challenge. I'm inviting people to try this challenge because it will help you get rid of depression. It'll help you get rid of the anxiety. It'll give you productivity. It'll give you motivation. I'm like, those are everything that I need in my life. And at that time, I had already quit drinking alcohol through my own incentive, but
Mm.
quitting porn and quitting masturbation was something I'd never even thought of. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was normal to just, you
Yeah.
know, behave that way. And I called it a destructive habit. We'll go into that. And so I read this tweet and I'm like, I'm all in. I'm going to do this challenge for 30 days. And that was the beginning. I completed the challenge, and it was amazing. I had like everything that Tim Ferriss promised that would happen from that challenge. I felt, and I felt confident, and I was just like, my social life had started to explode, and everything was just going amazing, and business ventures were coming together. And at the end of the challenge, he posted, who successfully did it, and I raised my hand. And then within a couple of days later, the founder of this original app called Lyft, which later changed into Coachdotme, reached
Yeah.
out and had said, hey, like, congrats on completing that challenge. Not that many people completed it. Would you be
Yeah.
interested in becoming a coach and teaching others how to do the same? And I'm like,
Mm.
I would love to do that because in my heart and in my spirit, even before I started the entrepreneurial journey, I knew I wanted to help others and teach and coaching is kind of in my DNA and mentoring and strategizing. And I'm like, I'm so into that. Let's do this. And then he sent me into the certified habit coaching training, which was spectacular. Kendra was my teacher. She was amazing.
Yeah.
And I just learned all these skills and tools and then just jumped right into it. So that's my origin story around how I became a coach.
So cool. So cool. Did you know that Tim Ferriss was one of the founders of Lyft that
I
that
found that out
now,
later. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that always
became
pumped me up.
coaching.
I'm like, I got to do
Yeah,
a
now
great
he's
job of coaching in case Tim Ferriss ever,
well,
analyzes the data. I was
hope to
like,
get him on our podcast one day.
that'd be so great. You
That
should.
should be my
Mhm.
goal.
Like, Tim, why did you invest in coaching this app? What was your, Tim is always on to the reason I did the Knob Nom challenge when I was studying Tim's business models and all his work and biohacking, and I found that he was always able to predict things
Yeah,
10 years ahead,
he's phenomenal. He's
right?
phenomenal in that.
I'm like, this
Yeah,
guy, I
100%.
started looking at his works like a religion. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He sees the
Yeah,
future. So I always tried to get in early with his thing.
exactly.
And for him to invest in an app like this, I'm like, he's
Yeah.
onto something. Let's do
But
this.
so
Yeah.
your experience, and you're doing it for how many years now?
It's
Being a certified
over a
coach.
decade, I think. I'm
Very
terrible
nice.
with dates, so I apologize. And even when I'm working with clients, and let's say we're doing like no alcohol or no porn,
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell them like my journey, and I'm always forgetting how many, like how long it's been for me, and I'm still trying to work that math out because at a certain point, I found it really helpful to just stop tracking and just
Yeah.
live that
Yeah.
identity, and I don't think about
Yeah. So you're doing it long time. Let's say a long
it.
time. Um, I'm sure you've seen this. I had my own, and I still have my own, as a very impulsive person, probably some sort of ADHD and, anxiety, struggling with that.
Probably me too.
I'm very prone to addictions, and sometimes
Mm.
these addictions are pretty innocent, like being a workaholic, or
Right.
watching binge watching the series, the Netflix binge watching. These
That
are
was me
kind of
last night with AI, right? I was telling you I
there
was
you
up till
go,
1 in the morning
there you
because I
go.
couldn't stop AIing.
There you go. So I do have this addictive. Well, sometimes it's less harmless. It's
Right.
less
Right.
innocent. So I know this, and I know the struggle. And um, I was reading a lot about the alcohol in particular, for example, and what I learned that the numbers, the statistics are pretty bad. So even like Alcoholic Anonymous, right?
Yeah.
They success rate is like, I don't know, 5%, I think. So like
Wow. I didn't know that.
very,
That's so
I,
interesting.
I might be bad with, I'm also bad with numbers, but I
Right.
know they're bad, right? Get back to the point that Tony
Yeah.
said to you, like you probably one of the very few who managed to do it. And overall, working with clients, what is the success rate? Is it really bad?
That's a
Um,
great question. And now I was just telling Lydia, I have like 368 notebooks over the decades of all my insights and learning, but I am recently trying to use AI to analyze those insights and give me more data on like all these key points that I could just extract quickly and not have to depend on my old brain, right? But I would say it is a struggle depending on the perspective you take on what it means to be successful in that goal. And this is something I
mhm,
work with a lot with clients. So one of the tragedies or challenges is setting milestones and treating them like a sprint. Like,
mhm.
I'm only successful if I quit forever, for example. Well,
Yeah.
that milestone's kind of wild and crazy. I mean, I think if that's your goalpost, yeah,
Yeah.
the stats are going to be dismal if that's your
Mhm,
goalpost. So for me, when I work with clients, we set very personalized goals that fit within their
mm,
capacity, and we are constantly growing and expanding our capacity it can change. It can, we can fluctuate. It's dynamic. There's not this end destination or goal, but we try to take things day by day. And this is something you'll hear in AA, for example. They're like every day, every
Mm.
moment is a key moment. And you're not trying to do the thing for 10 years. It's just every day at a time. Something
Yeah.
like that. It's like very specific. And I agree
Yeah.
with that. I'm like, it's not this competitive goal of like, let's be this perfect person, but let's actually
Mm.
look at like how we're working through our own mind and body day by day and setting up our life for success. So for me, it's changing the goal and the standards.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's very powerful concept. We have seasons
Yeah,
of,
seasons.
like, in a grand scheme,
Totally.
season season during the year, right? Season during the months. We
Yeah.
women kind of know about those by physiology, right?
Right.
But even relationships have seasons. But
Mhm.
going back, so we have those seasons, and it is totally unrealistic to think that you can do the same, you can be
Right.
the same, you can expect the same during uh every season, every day, every you know
Yeah. No,
can be the same,
totally.
right?
I love that. I love that. That you nailed it. I love the seasons analogy. That's so true. And when I started as a coach, when I was at my rock bottom, that for me was a season of extreme change, right? I needed that. I was in that place where I was ready for winter is over in my life. I'm ready for spring and summer. I'm going to do everything to make that shift. And that's when I was able to do these incredible, um, maddening sprints of things that are quite crazy. Honestly, the things I did, like the extremism that I went to with quitting
Oh,
things, like it was kind of
oh.
extreme. I look at it different now because I'm in a different season in my life, right? So
Mm,
meeting people in the season that they're at and helping them
mm.
get the most out of that and do what works for them. I think that's really important. And a really great coach will help people in their season and not try to say, oh, there's this perfect box you need to check. And like, let's move you into that box. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing the seasons analogy. I like that.
And so it's just following up what you said, shameless plug, shameless plug that Coach Me. We are, one of our values is human to human.
Mm,
Both me, you and I, we use AI for many things, and
right.
AI is great, but right, it would not understand,
Yeah.
same as a real human, what season you're in, and what is going to work for you, right? It is, or the program, the online course that you're going to buy, right? It's not
Mhm.
going to understand. There are great books. I don't know, I've read hundreds of those great books, how to quit alcohol, or how to reduce alcohol, or I don't know,
Right.
digital minimalism. They're great books on different bad habits, right?
Yeah.
But uh, the problem is, how to apply them. Do they apply in the particular time, the
Right.
season? And also, we are very different. Like we just
Yeah.
discussed, some of us
Different
are,
traumas, different things that have brought us to where we are today. And it's so
yes.
hard to, um, be able to you pinpoint the perfect template of like what's going to work for you. But the good news I would also say is there are generalized habits, universal habits that if we put them on the right way, life becomes so much easier. A great example of that is sleep, for example. Sleep
Mm-hmm.
is this universal system that if we work and maximize and improve and master, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
solves a lot of things for us. So I think there's these universal underlying principles and as a coach, of course, I think a really important job is to be able to see, hey, what season is this person in their life? What works for their personality style and their identity, and then almost like a super AI computer, but a human trying to point them and nudge them in the right way with nurturing and care into the right direction that would help them kind of work through those systems that they maybe not have in place or struggling with. So it's like if I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep every night and I'm so
Mm.
stressed, um, that's a different type of person trying to quit something like alcohol or porn than somebody who has all that taken care of and then they have like childhood trauma or something totally different.
Mm.
So it's very interesting how it all goes together. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to ask, you have an amazing, and we're gonna show it once we do the full recording. You have an amazing picture, your profile picture. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, it coached me, like so fun,
Mm.
so full of life. It's like it's so I don't know, enthusiastic, and it's kind of even contradicts or like you wouldn't it's I don't know how to even say this. You wouldn't expect it. It's very unexpected and it's very energizing, because I think there is a lot of guilt, shame,
Yeah.
there's a lot of heaviness in the bad
Yeah.
habits, especially talking
Yes.
about alcohol, porn,
Yeah.
masturbation, whatever
Yeah.
these destructive, really destructive habits we're talking about.
Yep.
There's a lot of that stigma, right?
Right.
Heavy
Right.
emotions. And when you see someone, like you again, we're gonna show that picture here. It's kind of lifts a little bit of that weight. So how do what's your experience? Do people come to you with this huge baggage of this heavy emotions,
Shame and
dark
guilt and weight
emo
and
yeah,
constantly
how
thinking
do
about
you
what's
help
wrong
them?
with me. Mhm.
Yeah, how do you help them to alleviate, or at least
Yeah.
leave a little bit of that behind to move forward?
Well, that's such a great question. Thank you for asking, Lydia. So the key is something that I work with a lot on clients, and it surprises them when we start working together. So I know we were talking about bad habits, and that was like the pop song that's gonna like get all the
Yeah.
attention. But in reality, what I found is this is a completely reframe, and my approach is unique in
Mm.
this way, I think. I reframe it from bad habits to, well, what is the bigger, better reward? What is the positive of the flip side, the inverse of that bad habit? So for me, the inverse of struggling with alcohol, for example, was now I get to live this beautiful, energetic, phenomenal life where I'm connected to nature. My mind, my body, my senses are so heightened, and I'm just experiencing the beauty of the planet, which is my picture in Coachdotme is like just me surfing with friends. I think that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
it.
captures in perfect in one image what the other
Mm.
side of alcohol looks like for me,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, and I wanted to capture that and share it because for me, it's not about quitting bad habits. I don't even think of bad habits. I reframed it completely in my mind. I don't look at alcohol as bad. I don't look at porn as bad. They're beautiful and unique tools in their own way. But for me, what I've learned through experience and working with clients is there is this incredible positive gap, this beautiful life that is available for everyone to grab onto. And we can actually step into that. So when you're looking at that picture of me surfing with my friends, socializing, adventuring, we're traveling, and I look at that, I don't see like a person that needs to drink alcohol, and I could talk about all the negative associations with alcohol. What I see is like a person who is so free by not drinking that I'm able to do all these things. I've got way more money. My health is at a incredible spot. And I have amazing quality friends around me that are deep and meaningful versus just surface level. So, like, when I think of something like no alcohol, for example, I know I name it no alcohol, but in my mind, I'm like, the incredible life that living without alcohol brings you. It's such a positive association with not drinking. It's like, I feel great when I don't drink. I look at all the positives that come with it. So, this is the plot twist in the podcast where we change it from bad habits to like bigger, better rewards.
Yay! No, I love it.
And with porn, it's
Yeah,
very similar. I'll just touch on that quickly. So a lot
sure.
of
Yeah,
guys have a hard time with quitting porn, and they have a lot of guilt and they have a lot of shame and a lot of negativity about
yeah,
themselves and their habit. And I'm like, you know what? Porn, let's not label it good or bad. It served a purpose for you. It helped you feel connected. It helped you maybe de-stress when life was really hard. But I
hmm,
promise you, if you spend some time away from it, you're gonna see this incredible rainbow upside. There's this huge benefits. And I have like half of the documents that I was trying to export to give to AI was just benefits that people had experienced after 30 days of eliminating
yeah,
something. And I'm like, one day we're going to get to a point where you're not trying to quit alcohol or quit porn. You're just at a point where you're so in love and in tune with life and the feeling you have when you're not weighed
mm,
down by that baggage and that stuff. And you're just going to fall in love with it and want to keep
yeah.
going. So, and I call that bigger, better rewards. That's what I look
Nice.
at. Yeah.
I love it. I'm saying you're right, but sometimes the gap to get from where people are today to this bigger, better, greater
Yeah.
is longer. And I really loved hear other people's stories where
Mm.
they say it took me 1 year before I even started to feel better.
Yes,
The
yes,
first the first 9 months or whatever, the first 6 months, it was awful because they
yes.
were
I
so
remember.
addicted. They were
Yes.
so addicted, either it was alcohol or porn or games, computer game,
Yeah.
whatever it was. Life was very bright. They had a lot of dopamine. It's physical. It's not just emotional, right? They had
Yeah.
their whole body system was over
Mm.
excited, overstimulated by all these
Mhm.
hormones, and they
Mhm.
say it took them months,
Right.
not days, not weeks, months before they could feel neutral, and then they started to feel what you described. And the
Yeah.
problem is, um,
So
how
true.
to get through this 6 months or 9 months or whatever months. What are some of the tools
Yes.
that could help us to go that long until we see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes. Yes. So I love that question. It's such a powerful and important question. And I have a bit of a mix of answers for you. So feel free to like zoom into any that can get your attention. But I would say one of the benefits of working with a coach through any platform, like Coachdotme is my favorite, but when you're working with a coach in a platform like this, the way they're going to help you through this almost like a dark cloud of uncertainty before you see the light at the end of the tunnel or the sun through the clouds. A really good coach will help set up micro dopamine hits for you throughout your coaching experience to help you get to that end destination. And I think of a great example. If I wanted to run a marathon and I do it on my own, Lydia, I might try to just sign up for the race and just go for it. And then like
Yes,
15 minutes into the marathon, I'm like, I got
you
a heart
die.
attack or
You
I'm a
die.
terrible runner. I'm working on that. That's my new hobby right now is running. And
Yes.
and and but a good coach, if you hire a coach to run a marathon, hey, what are they going to do? They're going to start you off with some attractive, smaller steps that will help you
Yeah.
in that in the building the muscles and the systems that will eventually help you get that marathon success. But they're going to start small. They're going to start with drills. And if they're a really good coach, they're going to be really fun reframes and good positive trainings that they're going to give you early on to help you get that longevity that you need to see the bigger, better reward at the end, right? And one of the secrets that I like to use, and I'm happy to share with anybody watching, is we spend a lot of time when we start working together on simply winning by showing up and checking in. Like,
Mm.
I don't care what your streak is. We're building a habit right now called the habit of trusting yourself and consistency. Come hang out, say hi. How did your day go? Let's check in together. And what's phenomenal to see with that, Lydia, is so many people struggle with something as simple as just consistency and showing up, right? Of course, it's really hard to quit that 30-year-old porn habit or alcohol habit. Like, let's build on little wins first in your life. Let's master little things, little trainings that will eventually set you up for major marathon success. But that's my secret approach that helps people stay in the game for the long run, because it is a marathon. It's not like you can just um,
Yeah.
just for some people you can go cold turkey, and I've experienced that where, like me, that's how I did it. Is I just
Yeah.
literally, some people, I'll say, Lydia, you go so far into the darkness of rock bottom that
Mm.
no dopamine spike can ever bring you back. You're just so down and depressed. That's where I was. I was just
Yeah.
miserable. I would almost say, not entirely suicidal, but, well, if I think back to it, probably had tons of suicidal thoughts. That's how low my
Mm.
dopamine systems in life had gotten, and how, bad it was. And to be in that state for some people like myself, you need such a radical change that you realize, like, there is nothing left for me there drinking. Like when I quit alcohol, I had reached the end of my enjoyment of alcohol, and I was just done. I was just so frustrated, so
Yeah.
miserable, and I had developed such a negative view of alcohol at that time that I was like, just like, I was done and I was moving on. And then I
Yeah.
just like, see ya. And then I did extremism, right? So for some
Yeah.
people that does work if they're at rock bottom. For others, they might have a
Yeah.
good
They don't
relationship,
have
and
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's interesting. It's all about the individual, like you said at the beginning of the call, and the
Yeah. Yeah.
season that they're in. And again, use systems like Coach.me, work with coaches to help you identify where you're at, and assist you in making it an easier transition. And if nothing else, just developing a positive relationship with the bad habit. I found one of the other things that works so well for me and my clients is, by the end of our coaching together, they had shifted their guilt and shame around the habit, and they don't see it with the same weight that and force as before. Then it becomes more approachable and enjoyable to quit. So, for example, with my clients, where we quit something is, I think one of the most difficult for men is like no masturbation. Like nobody talks
Mm.
about this, but it's a very, very difficult. And I'm not saying like masturbation is bad. Like do what's healthy for you, but for where I was, where it was like extreme, like 7 times a day, right? Some men are in that world where they were masturbating 7 times a day, and their energy was down, and they were feeling depressed, and it was just zapping their life force. Um,
Mm.
so I would say for them, just taking little steps to see what else is possible for them, and working through that is such a great thing to do. So if you look at how weight and shameful and bad that habit was, now I would feel defeated and deflated by it. So if I would drink when I said I wasn't drinking, or I'd masturbate or watch porn when I said I wouldn't do it, I would just beat myself up. The new way that I approach all of this now is that shift where I don't see it as a negative anymore. I see it
Mm.
as, I am so excited to see how long I can go and reap the benefits of my practice. And I started to fall in love with the suffering and the process. The gym is the best
Okay.
analogy for that, Lydia, because when you go to the gym as a beginner, it feels terrible and you beat yourself up and it's heavy and it hurts. And the next day you're sore and it's like miserable, right? But when you do it enough times and you develop a
Mm.
positive identity with working out and all the benefits it brings your brain and body, then you look forward to the pain. And there's a funny, for those of you watching that might know this Arnold Schwarzenegger quote from his movie Pumping Iron, where he's like lifting weights and he's like, you know, this is the best. It's like better than an orgasm. I just love this pain. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. You start to enjoy the process and the journey. And that's the reframe as well, from somebody who's trying to quit a really bad habit to, it's actually, let's not look at it as a bad habit. Let's look at something as a challenge and exciting, and then grow stronger from it. When those cravings hit you, that's a cool opportunity to like really build your muscle, right? So that's another
No,
little way that I try to reframe it. So that's my closing thoughts on that.
thank
I went
you.
on a
Thank you.
wild TED talk there.
Yeah, no, thank you. I like this idea. And I don't remember where I heard it, but basically, the life is
Yeah.
full of pain,
Yeah.
but there is bad pain and there is
Mm.
good pain.
Right. That's
And it's for
interesting.
you to choose. So you cannot choose live painless life.
Right.
Love, relationship, work,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, kids, every interaction, at some point you're gonna break your heart, at some point you're gonna get
Right.
angry, so there is pain, but there is a
Hmm.
good pain. And what you just described is basically what I mark
Yeah.
as good pain, because this
Yeah.
pain, after this pain, you still feel good. It doesn't, it's
Mm.
painful, but you feel high self-esteem, right? You
Yes.
feel confidence, you feel achievement, you're
Yeah.
proud of yourself, your identity is someone who managed this challenge. So it is pain, but following your reframe, right,
Mhm.
is a good pain.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because I always think about a lot of productivity specialists and experts. They always share this example of like uh, growth is always on the other side of pain. Like the concept that like y- you can't grow if you don't push the pain a little bit. And I think that one of the jobs is to be a really good coach is to help, again, talking about capacity, right? Like let's
Yeah,
find where people's capacity are. Let's help them feel wins, help them feel good, but then let's also then push them just a little further so they get a little bit of that pain to grow, right? But if you put them right in the marathon, that's too painful.
yeah,
And like, will they ever try again? Probably not. So stop treating
yes,
quitting bad habits like trying to run a marathon on your first day. I think that's really
yeah.
important.
No, that's right. That's true. But I want to go back on
Mhm.
that point. I want to go back something we discussed just before we hit record, because sometimes
Mhm.
you don't have a choice, in life puts you in a situation which is like marathon, right?
Yes,
Like
yes. Like
we
just
discussed, like my situation, like I had to move countries, and running from one war, I ended up in another war, right?
it's
Yes, I
wild.
get the double. I got the bonus.
Like you
Yes.
guys gotta like
uh
look at more of Lydia's story, and it's just so wild and interesting. And from Russia war, and then to the new place. What are the odds, right?
yeah,
As a Canadian, I'm in Canada and like the pretty much the safest country in the world. And I'm just like, whoa, this is wild what you're going through. But please share.
uh yeah. So I've been going through a lot, tough, personally, through,
Yeah.
and with, of course, when we are low, high anxiety, low capacity, low energy, of course it's easy to fall off the wagon of the good habits and get couple of destructive habits, just kind of uh, um, having the excuse that, oh my god, I gone through such difficult time, so I need to, I need to help myself to get through stress, and so it's easy,
Yeah.
that's the problem. It's easy to fall
Yeah.
back to
Yeah. I
something like
agree.
that. But I want to discuss what we discussed, like
Mhm.
going through this. So sometimes it's not by choice, right?
Right.
Sometimes life
Right.
put
It
us in
just
a
hits
in
you and
really tough situation, and we can't choose just to catapult ourselves out of it, and we
yes.
develop these addictions, we develop these things, and we need, like, you know I was like, well, I already did it and now I'm in it again, so I have to do it all again. The thing or the thought that helped me, that this is, instead of saying, why is it happening to me, why is it happening to me, I reframe it into, okay, well, this is another challenge for me,
Mm.
so that I can walk that path that is pretty hard and difficult and painful, and I can help others. I can
Right.
teach them, I can tell them.
Totally.
So it's not
Totally.
happening, to me, it's
Yeah.
happening for me, and not
For
just
me.
for me, but for other people, because I chose to be a coach, because I chose to be an inspirational,
Yeah.
writer, speaker,
Yeah.
then I can not just help myself get out of this and grow stronger and be example to just my family and friends, but also to my that that helped me
Yeah.
massively.
Yeah,
What do you think about
totally.
that?
No, thank you for sharing that. And it's so powerful and so important. Um, I think we should talk a little bit more about this. What I'm going to share with that is it reminds me of this two things. The first thing is I love right off the top, I love how you can have like a selfish why for what you're doing. I think having a why is a fundamental step to any lasting change, like knowing your why and how why it lights you up and why it's important to you, right? But having that selfish why is often something like, I'm going to quit alcohol because I want six pack abs. Nothing wrong with that. Amazing. Like do it and it will motivate you and it's good. And then but it's also important to have that broader why, that why is that's not about you. It's a bigger, broader worldview, a deeper why that's selfless. And you just touched on that perfectly, where if you have that second why, the the world perspective why, like I want to help others. I want to inspire others, which is what you do when you show up to the podcast and all the work that you do and living your life. Like you are a like we use the analogy a lighthouse. So
Mhm.
if you're in a war, it's darkness. Certain individuals become lighthouses for other people, and that extrinsic why is so important. And that was one of the major shifts I made that helped me, for example, quit alcohol long term, because I had
Mhm.
linked in my mind that I have a greater why beyond myself. And the greater why was to, again, like yourself, inspire others, help other people live, uh, see the beauty when they're in the darkness, and try to help them come out of that, right? So great and great example and great analogy. No, I totally agree with it. And one thing I will say about that, so if we talk about one of the fundamentals for great and easy habit change, the universal law is environmental design. Like everybody will talk about if you want to change a habit, set up
Yeah.
the environment to make it easier or eliminate the environment so it's not a trigger for you, right? Environmental design is a big thing. And you can do that in this cozy office in Canada where there's like nothing really bad happening and I can easily tweak my environment and make it work for me. But if you're in like a war-torn country and you cannot physically alter the environment, or if you're a lonely child, like a lonely kid, a teenager who has been struggling and has no friends, but your friends are all alcohol drinkers, but that's the only connection to like love you have. That's an example of like environment where you don't have another option. You can't just change that environment easily and say no to connection and tribe and just leave and say, I'm going to go quit alcohol on my own and live a new life. Like certain environments cannot be changed. And then you touched on something very important. And but the one thing you can change is the environment in your mind and how you view that struggle and how you what you believe about that thing
Mhm.
that's happening to you. Like we either fall victim of it and it destroys us, or we leverage it and reframe it in our minds, clean up the mental environment where wow, now we have this opportunity to really shine and be an example because it is dark times. But if I can utilize that, I can actually do phenomenal things.
Yeah.
So
No,
mental
absolutely.
environmental design is another system
Nice.
to work on.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. Sometimes, people live around us, and yes, the situation around us not easily, not always easy or possible to change. So um, it's not. It's going to make things more difficult, but it's not. It doesn't mean it's hopeless, right? It doesn't
Of
mean
course. Of
we
course.
give up. And so I think maybe that would be my kind of closing question. It's a trick
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
You know me. So do you think it's possible, or it's there are situations where it's impossible for someone to get rid of destructive habit, bad habit?
Mm, that's interesting. Impossible. So that word. is not in my vocabulary. No, I'm kidding. Like,
Good.
no,
That was the
honestly,
trick question. No, obviously. Yes, obviously.
yeah, I like that question. It's very good. You know, I I'm gonna nerd out a little bit here. Look,
Sure.
humanity has been on this earth for like what, 10,000 years, right? And like if you look at the universe and like how old it is and the constant changing and evolution, my honest belief is that we are at the infancy of our evolution. There is so much more growth and adapting and developing that's going to happen. And if you don't have a bigger purpose or why, use the fact that civilization is constantly unfolding and growing and getting better. And you can be a part of that change and be a part of that improvement. And I don't think it's impossible, but it might be an evolution. And even like a one a day improvement, like 1% improving, maybe for some people, that's just thinking about quitting a destructive habit. Maybe that's the micro 1% improvement that might change their generations of history around alcohol, for example, or anything. But even if you improve just 1%, you are on that pathway of where humanity's going, that trajectory of evolution to making the world a better place and our collective humanity a better place, right? So I believe it should be everyone's duty to try to improve and not give up. And maybe it doesn't look like what the other person's journey looks like. Maybe it's your own personal marathon. But the fact that you're trying and you're showing up and you care about it and your heart's in the right place where you kind of know, like, I want to change things. I think that's the win. Like you are now part of that collective evolution of improving, the world and the universe. So that's
Yeah.
definitely the end of my TED talk.
No, absolutely.
How
Yeah,
does that
I think,
resonate with you? What does that make?
yeah, 100%. I don't have impossible in my vocabulary as well.
Yeah. Might
I
just take a
think
lot of time, right?
everything is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Everything is figure outable. I really like that
Right.
word as well. And that's the fun, I think. I think the
Yeah.
day you stop thinking something is possible, that's kind of the death inside.
Yeah.
Right, because there are so many people, and I don't want to kind of say it with shame or some guilt, but
Yeah.
there's so many people like robots dead inside. They don't have the bigger why.
Right.
They don't have.
Right.
They just do things as robot day by day by day by day. So I think keeping keeping this, even 1% or
Yeah.
0.1% possibility, saying
Yeah.
okay, that might happen, might not, but at least I tried. That's kind of my motto. The deathbed kind of meditation. That's how I want to
Mm.
say my last word. At least I tried, right?
Yeah, but I love what you
So
also touched on, Lydia, with you mentioned you love the process. And I think
yes,
that's really interesting and worth really exemplifying is if we can fall in love with the process, like if we look at the evolution of humanity, there is actually no goal or end destination. So what if we let go
yeah,
of this idea of perfection and that there has to be this like perfect standard or
yeah,
end goal? What if it isn't and we're just constantly going to evolve? Well, now we have
yes.
this small sliver in time that we can play and experiment with the evolution and have a little fun with it. And that's what I think that is success. If you have what you just shared, that love for the process and enjoyment, and like goals are cool. End destination is fine. If you need that, do it. But we're here more to just play in between the timeline of where we're going and do our
Yeah.
best. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's great.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you for stressing that out. I think that
Yeah.
deserves a separate kind of episode,
Right?
because I think it's a huge point.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of that can be totally kind of change the way we live, the way we look at things,
Yeah, it
because
is. Yeah.
there's so much attention to success. And,
Yes.
the
And
reframe, what you
pressure and
mentioned,
like,
exactly what you mentioned, we have to redefine success. Exactly
yeah.
how you said success should be enjoyment of the process,
Yeah.
not reaching the destination. So I think that's a very powerful
And this goes
thought.
back to the beginning of our conversation
Yes,
where you shared like, how do you run the marathon? And I'm like, well, a really
yes,
good coach is going to help you reframe your mind and your perspective and your like I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So a
yes,
good coach is going to help you early on to change your relationship with how you're even
yeah,
doing this goal, and that can be so powerful and carry with you in all your adventures in life, right? So thank you for bringing that
yes,
up, and it ties it so well with the beginning of what we talked about. Fall in love with the
absolutely.
marathon, and then you're more likely to do the marathon because it is going to take a lot of work.
Thank you so much, Leo. We can talk,
Of course, yeah,
you and I
hours.
can
We can go
talk
for hours.
forever. But I think it was a great conversation. I hope we'll have one more, many more.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
folks, if you found this interesting, and if you have anything that you label as bad habit, and that could be pretty much anything, right? Right, Leos? It's actually another conversation we need to have. What is
What
a bad
is a
habit?
bad
What
habit?
is
Yeah,
There you go. But
exactly.
if you're unsure, and if you feel like you need a guide, you need a lighthouse, you need a coach, then
Yeah.
Leo, I cannot recommend Leo enough. Come and find him at Coachdotme. There will be links in the descriptions. Leo, thank you so much. It was amazing.
Always a pleasure, Lydia. Thank you for having me. This was great.